Hello, the game is Temtem. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the best camps in the game currently, how to evaluate a potential camp without having to go there and actually grind on it for a few hours gathering data. I wanted to discuss some of the discrepancies and frustrations that I see people are having with people posting information about camps and teams and setups, and then, yeah, just want to kind of review what I've found and kind of go over that and show you what the best camps are and the best setups that I've found real quick. So let me go over the frustrations and expectations and what I see happening here. So what I'm talking about is people seem to be having a problem with people posting their results. So, if somebody makes a video or a post saying, hey, I got 15 to 17K at this camp, you'll see a lot of negativity on it, like a lot. I mean, even some of mine, and I think some of my videos are pretty, like, I don't sensationalize my videos. I actually think, like, when I post, like, my 10K video, people who are more efficient are going to be able to get, like, 12, 13, 14, 15K. So, I'm being very conservative in my videos, and even I still get a lot of that pushback from people. I guess that's just the internet. People are what they are on the internet. But I wanted to kind of go over why I think that's happening. So I think the first thing, well, I'll just go through it. So measurement is one issue, RNG is one issue, expectations are an issue, and efficiencies are an issue. And let me kind of go over what I mean by those. So measurement, what do I mean by that? So we're all recording this data and then publishing it out. How are we coming up with it? There's no universal standard for measuring Temtem camps, right? That's why in my first video, I spent 4 or 5 minutes showing my spreadsheet, showing my calculation formulas, showing my math. So anybody who ever watches my video can reference that and understand exactly where I'm coming from, how I'm calculating my math, so their expectations are on par with mine. I think part of my problem where I get some pushback on my other videos is a lot of people watch my video, and then even if I say, hey, make sure you check out my video with the spreadsheet that shows you how, nobody's actually going back and wants to watch a 5-minute video on a spreadsheet. So then they just go, wow, this can't be true. I don't know how you're getting that calculation. And that's a little frustrating for me since I spent all the time to put that information out there, but that's my personal dilemma. So I think how we measure is important because some people are probably just pushing their stopwatch on their cell phone, doing a run, and they call that a measurement. That's, it is a measurement, but in my opinion, that's a very sloppy measurement. I don't see a lot of people posting their information, like, here's my spreadsheet with all the data that I collected. I don't think there's a lot of people out there, maybe myself and maybe one or two other people I've seen doing stuff like that. I know one guy was trying to contact me. He was trying to do, like, hey, you want to consolidate our information? And he was trying to come up with, like, a universal format kind of thing. My problem is I don't have time for that. Like, just doing my little part here eats up all of my time. I don't have any more time for it. So enough with measurement. I think you kind of get the picture what I'm saying there. Everybody's using a different yardstick, so we're coming up with different results. Then you have the RNG aspect. The camps have a very, random number generators. It's very, the difference between getting one Temtem versus 2 Temtem is a big deal. There's ups, there's downs. Did your Temtem die? Are they resisting 7 cards? Or are you popping them on the first card? A little bit of skill comes into that, and your team setup comes into that, but a lot of it is still RNG. So you can have a very good run and have very good results, and you can have a very bad run and have very bad results, and they can sway 5K. So I'll just take my video for example, where I say you can make 10K at this camp. 10K is more like the average. I've made 8 and 9 at that camp before. I've made 12 and 13 at that camp before. So it's, it really depends. Like, you can have a bad run, you can have a good run. You want to try to put out the averages of what you've experienced. And it's very plausible for somebody to have 1 or 2 good runs and then get really excited about that and want to share that information, and then they put that information out and then people watch it and they get very upset because, like, they're seeing the high end when their results are very low and different than that. I also think expectations is a big thing, and this falls more on the viewer or the consumer when they see something promising a certain amount and then they try it and they're not getting the same results. They expect that they're going to get that, and if they don't, they get very upset. And what people need to realize is that, like I said, there's RNG to it. There's also efficiency, which I'll get into. So just manage your expectations. For example, my video says 10K in a camp. If you go to that camp and you get 9K and then complain about it, I'm like, you just proved my concept, because there's going to be ups and downs in that camp. If you're getting 9K at a camp that I said you can make 10K at, to me that's legit. That's a success. If you make 13K, same thing. Don't come back and say, well, I made 13 here. You said you could only make 10. People aren't going to be upset about that. They're going to be happy about that. But it's the same thing. There's going to be a little give and take. And I think a little bit of that comes into the fourth thing here is efficiencies. Your team's efficiency, the quality of your Temtem, your knowledge, your experience, your decision making during the battles all comes into play in these things. How fast you click the buttons. I'm a slow button clicker. My click speed's more like click, click, click. Should I do this? Click, click. Okay. I see some people playing it more like a first-person shooter, where their click speed's more like this. Click, 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 click. You're hitting the menus. They're purposefully memorizing which direction to hit their D-pads to get through the menu system as fast as possible to increase their times, and their efficiencies are just off the board. I always assume, because I'm a slower player, I enjoy just kind of chilling out and doing it, and I'm not pushing anything while I'm doing it, that people are going to be able to usually do better than me in what I publish. So expectations, measurement, how you measure it, your personal efficiencies, the random number generator, all affect the outcome of these camps. Speaking of camps, now that you've listened to all my philosophy and all my blah blah blah, let's get on to the meat of this video and show you the value and how to determine the value of a camp quickly and efficiently. So as you can see here, I got this spreadsheet going. I have 6 different camps listed here, and let me kind of explain what you're seeing before I go into the detailed explanation. So these are the Temtem that spawn at the camp, and what I mean by camp is the area that you'll be battling the Temtem at. So on the map, there's specific areas where these Temtem spawn. They usually spawn either 2 types of Temtem or 3 types of Temtem. So what I did was I gathered all the Temtems that spawn in that area, what their max level could be, what the value of that max level Temtem would be, and if you really wanted to go crazy with this, you could do like the min-max values and the average of the two. I didn't need that. I'm just using this as kind of like a probe. Like, where should I be trying to fight at? What's the camp value potential? So these are the values of the Temtem. This is the percent that they spawn at the camp, so 60%. This is what I labeled spawn value, so it's basically the value of the Temtem divided by the percent that it spawns. So 110 divided by 60%, its value is 66. And you do that with each Temtem, right? And then you add those together and you get a camp value. So that camp, if one Temtem spawns on average, it's going to be valued at about this. If 2 Temtem spawns, obviously double it, but it just kind of gives you a value of the camp and the potential spawns of the camp. I hope that's understandable. So as you can see here, this is pretty good. This camp value is 108. This one, not so good, not so good. This one's pretty good. This one's pretty good. And this one, not so good. But, this just gives you an overall value. The difficulty of catching them is going to come into play as well. So let's say this Bun Bun camp was very easy to capture, whereas this one was difficult, even though it's a higher, camp value, as what I call it. You might make less money. So this isn't the end-all be-all. This is just a kind of a gauge as to what the value of the camp will be. Then you got to figure out what the most efficient team would be to defeat that camp as quickly as possible. Then you have to kind of figure out how fast the battles will go. Are they going to be every minute? Are you going to get 1 Temtem a minute? Or are you going to get 5 Temtems a minute? All that factors into it. And then you can kind of get a real good value. But this is just kind of for prospecting purposes. So let me pull this cell over here so you can see the more popular camps. These are camps that nobody ever talks about that I was just evaluating. These are the more popular camps over here. The ones in red are the fire camps. So this is your Magmus camp. This is your Volar camp. And as you can see, the values aren't that great. 90, 91.3, 108.2. You know, 108's not bad, but they're not great. So what makes this camp better than this camp? Well, as we all know, the double whip lump method is awesome at this camp. And it just makes it super easy, super brain dead, and super fast. So that's what drives the efficiency of these camps and what makes them so good, even though they're low value. And that's why I was saying the speed of the camp matters, like how fast you can capture them. But when you look at the value of the water camp, so this is the grass area where the Bunbuns and Babawas can spawn. It blows everything else currently in the game out of the water, except for the 2 water spots right next to it, where the Whiplumps and Ukumas spawn. 178 blows everything out of the water. And this is why I focused on this camp, even though everybody was saying, do the double whip lumps, you get 8k per hour, blah, 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 it's the best camp. I was like, no. When I first started out, I was making more Pansun per hour doing this camp. And I was like, this is the best. It doesn't get any better than this. I could push at most 8k. I was usually getting about 7. Sometimes I'd get 6 on a bad run. I'd get 7 on average. And I'd have highs of 8 at this camp. And I figured maybe if somebody was really fast with the button pushing, they could probably push a 9 at this camp. If they went to the Volar camp and got a really good run and you were very fast with your button pushing, you might be able to get 9k at this camp. And I thought this was the end all be all, because I came down to the water with my Nesla, and my Nesla was killing stuff. This was back before they nerfed the chain lightning, or fixed the chain lightning. I haven't used the Nesla since, so maybe it's a little bit better now. Not trying to poop on the Nesla. Yeah, it was much better than the water. So I was farming this for a long time, and then I started, prospecting, and I just seen the value of this. And I was like, no. This has potential. This is the end game camp. Like, what I'm doing something wrong. And that's when I started looking into builds and what team could I build that would allow me to farm it brain dead, because I really like the brain dead aspect of the fire camp and the whip lumps. And what I mean by brain dead is not a lot of thought process goes into it. It's easy. I can watch YouTube videos or read a document or watch Netflix or do something else while I'm doing it, because it doesn't take a lot of thought. You're just hitting the same buttons over and over, and there's no risk really of your guys dying. That's what makes it easy. So this camp I was getting torn up at. You had to stay on top of it. You had to really micromanage everything. And that's where I kind of started going, what can I do to make this camp, A, get better results because it has high potential, and B, become a little more brain dead. And that's where I put out my videos. I was doing the Drizzle and the, oh God, I forget their names now. But check out my history. I'll link the 2 videos in the description. But that's where I started doing my videos on this camp, saying, hey, you can make 10k an hour here, stuff like that. And I'm still working on it. I still think there might be even more efficient methods, but the current method that I got is pretty brain dead. It's almost impossible. I think it is impossible to die unless you're not looking for like 5 battles, and then you might die. But I can get 10k regular at this camp. I can spike high sometimes, and sometimes I go under. There was one time I did like 8,900 or 9,300 or something like that. So yeah, there's a little bit of RNG to it. Not every camp is going to be 10k exact. I figure if I can get 10 pretty consistently, and I'm slow when I do it, like my click speed's very slow and I'm very inefficient with how I do things. I figured, people should be able to get 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15 here. There are some people posting out videos where you can get 17, 18 here. I find pushing it at, when you're almost doubling what I'm getting, I'm a little skeptical, especially since they don't post their data. They're just saying it. They're not showing any numbers, and how they collect that information and how they're measuring. I get a little skeptical, but you got to look at everything. So this is kind of how I measured it, but what I found interesting is when I just took this number and divided it by 60. 60 is just random. I just figured 1 temtem a minute. You know, it almost broke down to close to what the camp's values are. So I usually get about 10 on this. So it's a little, you know, I usually get about 10 on this camp. This one, I haven't measured it in a while, but so I really can't speak to that. I haven't really measured this one in a while. I had to go back to my measurements. But yeah, this one seems a little low, but I think that's because it gets picked up. It gets picked up because of the speed that you could do this camp. But this is pretty close. I mean, there have been times where I've gotten 6 at this camp, and I think 7,000 is pretty average for this camp, and I think 8 is pretty high for this camp. So for this to tell me that I'm going to get 6 for an hour is pretty quick and fast. You can just pull this information off of a website, do this quick camp value calculation, times it by 60, and you can kind of almost see what you should be kind of expecting at a camp, you know, given the knowledge that it could be increased or decreased, you know, but it kind of gives you a rough estimate of how to prospect a potential camp. And I think this is going to be useful in the future. So right now we're at endgame, and we really only have 2 camps that are endgame viable right now. All these other high-level camps, not really viable. Maybe somebody can. Maybe somebody will take this 108 camp over here and make up a group that makes it really fast and simple that I haven't thought of yet. And that's another reason why I want to post this out, so people can say, hey, man, there's some camps over here that might be valuable. Oops, messing up my spreadsheet. But as it stands right now, this is the best that we got, that we know of so far. But in the future, there's going to be content released, and that content's going to have new camps, new places to grind. And, you know, this is a quick, easy method to just kind of prospect the value of the camp. So I thought it'd be useful information to everybody, so they can kind of see where they should be going. And then that's not factoring in, like, okay, so maybe you want to capture, maybe you want to breed this guy, or maybe you want to breed some Christies. So you want to, even though you'll take a little bit of hit on the value of this camp, you're still there capturing the 50 SVs when they pop up, so you can breed them. So there's other values to knowing what other camps. There's values to knowing what the value of other camps are. So if you want a bun, if you're farming buns to breed, well, I would highly recommend either this camp to do it at, or this camp to do it at. Since they're 2 highest value bun camps, you know, so it's just another way of kind of looking at things. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you kind of understand what the my thought process is on this, and how I'm coming up with these numbers, and kind of how you can utilize them, and currently what the best camps in the end game are. And yeah, just trying to share some information, kind of get everybody on the same page, so we're all thinking you know, alike, and kind of pushing our efficiencies a little better. Every day we're pushing the efficiencies of this game. We're all learning this game. Nobody's a master. Nobody's an expert yet. Things are going to change. So I think sharing this kind of information is important. I thank you for watching. Please give it a like. Hook me up with a subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. I'd appreciate it. And check out my other videos, and I'll see you in the next video.